to the wordings of this motion, and the only confusion that, or controversy that was about to emerge, it was from the contribution from my very, very close in-law, even though we have issues about servicing. I think, sir, that even foreign countries try to establish air base in other countries in order to enable them act promptly if emergency, so if there is a situation of emergency that requires the intervention of the Air Force. I find nothing wrong. In fact, I see all the benefit. Considering that in that part of the country, there is no air base in the South-South. So should there be need for quick reinforcement and quick mobilization of Nigeria Air Force to deal with a perceived security challenge, I think such an airstrip will handily be available. My brother's suggestion that federal government has so much in his hand and therefore they should not put it as urgent, with due respect to him, is neither here or there. We all understand, it goes without saying, that any motion we have passed here that will involve financial exposure will be done only to the extent that the planning authorities can reconcile the funds required for it vis-a-vis doing cost-benefit analysis. I think that in terms of geopolitical servicing of the responsibility of Nigeria Air Force to secure the territorial integrity of Nigeria, I found a lot of merit in his submission. I do not think it's about cost, it's about security. And as we now know, security is virtually everything. If you think it is too much to secure the country, try the cost of its security. And the Air Force that I know, we have a base in Kaduna, we have a base in Lagos, we probably have a base in Makurdi. I think it is right and fitting and equitable. And in terms of logistics, it is appropriate to have an Air Force base in that part of the South-South. It has merit, and I urge my colleagues to support it, knowing that it is not a decree that must be invoked today. The appropriate Air Force authorities will plan it, and they will know how to face the development. Rome was not built in a day, but the idea to build Rome started on a particular day. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Distinguished Senator.
To this bill, and to say that we should strengthen it by giving some of the agency the teeth to bite. Mr. President, sir, several years ago, I had the privilege of receiving a report from even seasoned generals who warned me that if the Nigerian government does not pay attention to illegal mining of golds, what is happening in some part of the country, what is going to happen in Zamfara will be worse. It has all come to pass. I think it is time to put an end to crying and lamenting, to getting the state to discharge its responsibilities of protecting all our national assets. Every other thing that needs to be said has been said. I support this bill in total, and if there's any additional clause that need to be added to give it the teeth to bite, including provision for imprisonment for those who are involved, both local collaborators and foreigners who are coming to Nigeria to cut away, and they look at us like fools. I mean, as we speak right now, somebody is involved in illegal mining of gold, and they take them out of this country, and they make money and put it in their pocket. They use that money to undermine our political system, our security system, every aspect of our national life. They distort our national values. I think everything that needs to be done needs to be done. I have not gone through all the clauses in the bill, but let us not pass a law without penalties. I hope that there are sufficient penalties and there are provisions for enforcement, and a provision to ensure that those who are charged with the agency are also accountable. I'm 100% in support. It is good for our country. I think the charter politician from Zamfara said it all. This is the essence of governance. We must protect our natural endowment. We should stop crying and start moving. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Senate Committee on Army and Air Force should ensure that we do not only provide more money to the armed forces, that we guide jealously what they use that money to procure. because under the supervision and oversight of this National Assembly, previous service chiefs diverted money to building universities in their various communities. Those are the kind of resources that should have been used to procure modern technology. And to think that money was being diverted to non-essentials. And as we speak, those institutions are not teaching anything about security. They are just another glorified university. I think that this House, having the power to appropriate, we should focus strictly on the items that the Army and the Air Force and other security agencies are going to spend the money to do. Otherwise, everybody knows we need modern technology. This House, under your leadership, we have provided supplementary appropriation to the armed forces. Throwing money at a problem will solve it. We must assist them to redirect their procurement policies to focus on this technology. Otherwise, we can decline to approve appropriation if the details are not such that those managing the system will use the money strictly in a manner that we do justice to our collective feeling about redirecting and moving more and more towards technology. This is my additional prayer, Mr. President. It can be worded more elegantly, but I just believe that we need to tie the hands of the procurement people to procure more and spend more in those areas that the armed forces' competence will be better enhanced.
Yes. The previous service chiefs diverted money to build universities. Did they build personal universities or public universities?
Mr. President, they built public universities used to strengthen NDA in terms of competence of the men, and the rest used to procure modern technology for the armed forces. The armed forces would have been far more competent. Somebody talk about how Israel reacted. I'm not sure it's something I want to debate, but they reacted with technology, with men and women well trained, not creating mushroom educational institutions. Each service chief, they started them in their own villages. That did not coincide with the priorities of the armed forces. Just last year when we were doing the supplementary budget, we saw that the Navy even appropriated money to buy a yacht. That is why the oversight responsibility of this Senate is extremely important, to prevent the armed forces to prioritize in a manner that coincides with what we think the Nigerian Army should be doing. Thank you, sir. I think this bill, as proposed by the executive and very eloquently amplified to us by the House leader, does not require much panel beating, because we all desire to play a much bigger role in world sports. And it is one area where we are having unpaid ambassadors who, on account of their energy, their creativity, their self-effort, they have put Nigeria on the world map. Whatever we need to do by way of legislation, as proposed and captured in this bill, I think this Senate, as a progressive Senate, should have no hesitation in doing it. And for a matter like this, Mr. President, you may wish to clear those who have captured your attention. Mr. President, you are being arrested. When the referee is arrested, players cannot play. The referee has been arrested and denied the right to watch.
No, everything you are saying is being heard by the Senate. You are addressing the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and you are being recorded verbatim. So go ahead.
Mr. President, I must obey you, but I wish I could see your very, very handsome face.
It used to be handsome, but not now. But to be honest, we are hearing you.
All right.
We are hearing you, and there's nothing we are doing that is unusual. Everything you are saying, I can repeat. But be rest assured, verbatim, you are recorded, and you are talking to the Nigerian Senate. You are not talking to me as a person. So please go ahead. And of course, in front of me is a PhD holder in warfare. So let me prevent war.
I think you need to prevent war because of certain war going on somewhere. So, but just to say, Mr. President, I think that we should all support this bill. We have read of nations and very, very talented athletes and other sportsmen and women around the world who have been prohibited or banned from participating in sports on account of doping, etc., etc. I think it is nice that before Nigeria become a victim, that we take steps to have laws that we keep them in focus, that there are the do's and the don'ts, so that Nigeria can be part of the real world sporting nations. I support this bill, and I am sure this Senate and these distinguished senators should have no difficulties at all. This is what bill we can pass with our eyes closed. Thank you, Mr. President.
Just to show that I was.
That is my baptism name. And Bishop Kuka has warned me that if I don't answer it, there are consequences.
Okay.
Sir, I have listened to the argument. Ordinarily, I don't have any reason why this bill should not go, because under the new management of NDDC, and with the eagle eye of the chairman and members of the NDDC committee, I believe that those of us in the South can say with confidence that things have changed, and things are changing, and they will change even more. With regard to the technical question raised by Senator Alelo, for whom I have a lot of respect, I think my recollection, I've not been here for too many years, but when we appropriate, we pass an appropriation law that provides for deficit. Subsequently, the president will write, as necessary, to ask the Senate to approve a borrowing plan. Not the other way around. You don't borrow without stating the purpose. So when we have passed the bill, which says that part of the money will be borrowed, in my view, and from my limited experiences I've been here, we can, when the president so requests, consider the request to borrow 1 billion or 1 trillion naira. I don't see fundamental contradiction. But let me also say that we shouldn't make the mistake of saying that because the boy has been misbehaving, even when he's changing, we continue to judge it by his dirty past. I think NDDC, under his current management, are doing the right thing. They are focusing on projects that are viable, that are durable, that are physical people can see. And I think we just need to encourage the new management to do what they are already doing. Therefore, from we in the South, there can be no perfection. But when we see, for people like us who are used to criticizing, when we see what is good, we have to acknowledge it. Yes, like somebody said, there have been a lot of debts and so on. There are issues whether the jobs were done or not done. But after the audit, they have been able to separate jobs not done from jobs that are done, for which NDDC has not paid. They've had this reputation of awarding contract, people borrow money to do the job, and the job is not paid. Such job is only fair if you are not going to collapse those contractors who have invested their money or borrowed to do those jobs. It is only fair that they are paid what the job has been properly verified. It is not paying for invisible contracts. So, Mr. President, I think there is no better person who is more familiar with the challenges of Niger Delta than your humble self. So I want to plead with my colleagues that let's not judge or let our attitude not be influenced by the past. Let it be formed by the new progressive development that we've all have noticed, at least those of us from the South. I urge my colleagues to support this bill. And if there are technical issues that need to be worked out, I'm sure the committee can always handle those. Thank you, Mr. President. Our Senate leader, in commending Mr. President for acting in a manner that we remind Nigerians that whatever discomfort they have suffered as a result of some of the bold decisions he has taken, whether in the area of withdrawal of subsidy and the obvious anticipated hardship, and of course the foreign exchange rate, which is rather an intricate policy because on the one hand, we have seen the naira depreciating. On the other hand, the good side of it is that there are no more Nigerians who become billionaires because they are relations of the central bank, because that rent has been removed. It takes courage of a president to say, I will not benefit the way some people in the previous system had benefited. What we are now dealing with is, how do the ordinary Nigeria benefit from these bold policies? By devoting substantial part of the amendment bill to deal with infrastructure. And incidentally, a lot of these infrastructures are the ones that not only create jobs, they create good paying jobs and sustainable jobs for our engineers, for our senior technicians, and even for the laborers, as well as even mama put that will emerge wherever construction work is going on. The only point made by Senator Dixon, with profound respect to him, because he's my brother, we are from the Sub-South, we were both governors together, he hosted us very lavishly a couple of times when Nigeria was a bit... I think that with due respect to him, he cannot support an expenditure and question the source of funding the expenditure. So you can't support the amendment to the supplementary for infrastructure and not endorse the sound of funding it. So I'm sure even after listening, he may wish to have a rethink. Experts are in this house. And even me, I refuse to be intimidated by people who call themselves experts. Because sometimes they just deploy their private values and substitute it for expert opinion. So I commend the president for this supplementary budget. I'm particularly appreciative that he recognizes that they shouldn't go into agreement with the...
It's not supplementary, it's an amendment. It's an amendment to the existing budget, taking money from this head to the other one, and so on. So it's not supplementary, just to...
That's right.
To understand, yeah.
But critical to that, as the Senate leader reminded us, is that it includes providing for the personnel costs arising from minimum wage upward adjustment. Because that upward adjustment of the bottom will have implication for the top. So overall, the personnel expenditure that was in the budget originally can no longer stand in view of the pending minimum wage. And it is only right that the president understands that he can't go into agreement without the money being available, which is why the payment of the minimum wage is the most important explanation for increases in personnel costs. So I urge my colleague that, like my distinguished brother there said, this is not about rubber stamping. It's about recognizing emergency. It's about taking into account our own calendar with regards to whatever, and doing what is right, and providing legal backing for an idea that nobody can fund. Sir, lastly, each time you use your ATM machine or you make a transfer, the bank deposits you. I'm not sure which law provides for that. So if the bank devises ways and means of taking from even the poorest of the poor, if the poorest farmer among God transfer money to another poor farmer, the bank takes 50 naira commission. So if they had divided these tools to enrich the banking system, these corporate citizens, in fact, it is consistent, Mr. President, with the progressive credentials of our party, the All Progressive Congress, to take from the rich and provide for the poor. That is what will lead to stability. To allow the rich to get away with excessive wealth on the ground that we have not provided laws to enable us take the excess profit to stabilize the system is to be short-sighted. So I commend the executive, and I want to commend the leadership for facilitating that we deal with this matter expeditiously so that the president can get going and companies involved in infrastructural provision can have a renewed hope, and in the end, Nigeria can see that they lost one and they gained two. I am completely in support that this second reading be passed so that we can deal with this matter and conclude it whether this week or no later than next week. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, distinguished, for your eloquent intervention.
Spoken before me to commend the presenter of this bill, and as has been said by all the speakers, it will prayerfully make a difference to endless years of struggle to have a comprehensive ID system, which is even useful in terms of fighting crime and identifying people wherever they are. However, the common problem with Nigeria laws is the will to enforce. I have difficulties in readily understanding item D, removing criminalization of non-use of NIN, replacing criminal penalties with administrative enforcement. Mr. President, sir, without penalty, persuasion alone can only go that far. If, as everybody has spoken, this is an important issue, there must be a provision for punishment for willfully refusing to register. And it is people with criminal tendencies that are likely to be unwilling to register. So by not putting that, it becomes discretionary. The people I have sympathy with, and we have a duty to them, incidentally, across the 774 local governments, there are people who are illiterate, there are people who are too poor to move to a city. The challenge will be, what can we do differently, whether by provision in this bill or some regulation that will be put in place by those charged with the responsibility of managing it, to ensure that they popularize this campaign, make the registration such that people can register where they reside. So you don't have to ask my old mother to travel to local government or even travel to Benin to be able to register. Sir, penalty is important. Penalty is important. I suggest, with profound respect, that the criminalization is not a bad thing to do. People must know that there are consequences for not complying with a law made by this parliament. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Adam Oshiomhole.
To appreciate my friend and brother, distinguished Senator Akpabio, for this very, very important motion. Read it through paragraph by paragraph. There is absolutely nothing to add. We do have saboteurs. Around the country, people blame politicians for all sorts of things that are not working well. Yet, we have people who are just appointees of government, who sabotage the laudable objective of parliament. Mr. President, I watched in the news when you led a delegation to visit a Nigeria refinery that is capable of producing diesel of appropriate standard. The decision, therefore, by the management of, that's paragraph 5, aware that NMDPRA has persistently continued to issue import licenses of diesel and jet despite sufficient local production capacity. Mr. President, this is sabotage. Real sabotage of the Nigerian nation, endangering jobs, good paying jobs of Nigerians who are working in these refineries to produce this product. The much advertised benefit of local refining, which NNPC has used time and time again to pump all sorts of money into maintenance of Nigeria refineries. Now we have refineries that are working. And a Nigeria who believes in the future of our country at a time when the pressure on foreign exchange is so strong that the naira is plummeted every day. A Nigeria finds comfort in the words of in this particular paragraph to continue to issue licenses for the importation of substandard, dangerous chemicals in the name of diesel. I agree absolutely that we need to have a strong, well-paneled ad hoc committee to carry out thorough investigation and to investigate the leadership of the institution that is responsible for issuing these licenses. Mr. President, until we begin to punish, dismiss, and prosecute people who are undermining our collective well-being, we're going to spiral away. I do not believe that these are errors of the head. I believe the gentleman or gentlemen involved in this are doing it on purpose to collect rents for their pocket and undermine the economy of Nigeria. Your visit to Lagos was very well appreciated because the parliament must see what is going on in different parts of the country. So I support this motion and I plead with my colleague that in unison, we should condemn the idea of importing diesel, which many of us, we have to agree we are part of the middle or ruling class now. We all have diesels in our house. We are being poisoned by the product being imported by someone or some persons who want to enrich their pocket. So I think this is one motion that all of us should adopt unanimously and empower the committee and give them all the political backing they need to do the needful so that Nigeria will be better for it. Thank you, Mr. President. And I want to workers is for our health and as well as creating jobs and defending jobs of Nigerians. Thank you very much, sir. The fact that bills of this nature have to come from the executive. Number two, in an earlier decision, we said if we are going to repeal a law, the law must be available for us to look at and compare the provisions with the proposed new law. I am completely at home with the submission of Senator Abiru. And with profound respect to my friend, Sani, hard I should try. You know, you try to appeal to our sentiment with regards to foreign exchange stability. Yet, the specific provision will do damage to that stability. Markets, by their nature, is well summarized by the man who has spoken and left, Senator Wadada. Sir, for Nigerians to hear that we are discussing a market informed by IMF thinking.
I think if you look very well, it may have moved from where he spoke. Wadada may still be around, but look around. It may be somewhere else.
Oh,
oh okay. You are now there. So it's there.
Yeah.
It's there. So,
thank you, sir.
Noted.
So I think, for example, you talk of stability and you talk about liberalization. To liberalize is to remove control. How? To remove control is to make government completely redundant. I think, sir, with profound respect, I appreciate only incitation, stability. But the instrument you put here will do damage to stability. And I like to suggest that this thing be set aside completely because, like it was eloquently enumerated by my brother, Senator Dankwabo, once we start speculation that foreign exchange might change, laws might change very soon, once that is in the psyche, everything will go. And I'd like finally to comment on the remark by the Senate Committee Chairman on Appropriation, Senator Iyayi Olamileko. He was wondering how the mere pronouncement, because this is at the heart of Dakwabo's submission, the mere pronouncement that government will import more food, it will remove some elements of taxes and levies and duties, has already created tension in the market, and that Naira has taken a dive. Why not? Once government announced that we intend to import more, and everybody is aware that that does not mean government is going to earn more forex. So that commitment to import more naturally lead to speculation that importation, additional importation, can only put more pressure on the naira. That results in the new rate that you are seeing. That is why, as Akpabio said, we have to be careful. Because we have power to legislate, we cannot speculate. Anything done in this house, Nigerians will take it very seriously because we have the power to make laws, including the laws of life and death. Mr. President, I conclude by saying you have summarized it. You have amplified very meticulously the contradictions. I will profoundly respect. Let this law, let this bill rest in peace. It should attract no further hearing. It shouldn't go to public hearing because even that, we still suggest that we are trying to tinker with the CBN Act and the foreign exchange market. If it is necessary, I'm sure the executive knows what to do. Thank you, Mr. President. Argued by Senator Ume and supported by two other distinguished senators. Mr. President, when I was growing up, we have only, under the Nigeria police, we have the traffic division. And they did their job so diligently, so that if there are roadblocks, you will find them try to manage traffic. If there are accidents, they do everything to establish who is wrong, who is right, preparatory to go to court if the party decides to go to court. Thereafter, we set up the Road Safety Commission. I don't know the experience of my fellow distinguished senators. If you ask me, I do not think even the Road Safety Commission has added value to road transportation, whether it is of promoting safety or ensuring that, that drivers obey traffic laws. Except that you find them under the tree collecting money from poor road users. I think what we need is to make existing institutions to work. And where they fail to work, we evoke sanction. Just recently, I had a conversation with a fellow senator in these chambers. And this senator was shocked about what she observed directly. I don't know why the Turaki of Lorry is blocking the Senate. You are supposed to be seated under the rule. When a senator is standing speaking, other senator cannot be standing. That is the rule. So the new chief whip, please rise to the occasion and protect my right. Chief whip.
Please address the chair.
Mr. President, sir. This is a juju struggle. So, Mr. President, I think this House must be seen to act in a manner that is in tune with those broad policy statements that we have accepted, namely, to avoid multiplication of agencies that have duplicated functions, which is at the heart of the much talked about Oroshaye report. Under your leadership, sir, may it not be said that while Nigeria is committed to cutting federal government excessive overhead expenditure, that more agencies are created that will lead to appointment of more directors, deputy directors, chairmen of board members, etc., all of them drawing allowances, and in the end, nothing changes. We have National Union of Road Transport Workers. They are registered under the Trade Union Act, and that I provide for their own responsibilities. I think if any of us have reservations about the incompetence of the Nigeria Road Safety Commission, which is my view, that they are incompetent, they are not adding value, and yet they are drawing so much for public treasury. Let us, in line with the current spirit of cutting down costs, to meet other more challenging expenses, we don't need to create agency for everything. Because like he said, the last speaker, Senator Agadaga, who supported my sister, Natasha, that we may end up tomorrow, if there's an accident in a boat, we set up a waterways transport commission. And then rail, we will set up rail Transportation Commission. Which country are we competing with? In terms of number of vehicles in relation to our population, there are countries with far more vehicles. They don't have all these institutions. Mr. President, we have all had the privilege of traveling, every senator here. One policeman, if you overspeed, he will arrest you, he will take your card, he will go to his car, he will key in your name to see whether you are wanted for other things. That is the kind of improvement I would like to see. An officer that is multi-skilled, multi-talented, and multitask to justify the salary that he or she receives. They can be so well paid, rather than duplication of efforts of institutions and everybody end up being underpaid. I move, sir, that we kill this motion here. It should not go through second reading. There is no apology to anyone who moved a motion because we are discussing issues. We are not discussing the mover of the motion. Every senator here, we are brothers and sisters, including Agadaga, including Natasha, including Senator Ome, whose name I will never forget again, but I can't forget Abga. So, sir, I support that this motion be killed for the reasons that have been very well enumerated, beginning with Senator Umi. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.